Hi all. One of my viewers asked me about something and wanted to know more about the Queen's Gambit. So I've decided to put this video together to summarise the opening and talk about some of the common responses. So, the Queen's Gambit. It's one of the openings in chess that's been around for centuries, and current grandmasters such as Magnus Carlsen still use it. It's also the name of a Netflix drama miniseries starring the character Beth Harmon during the Cold War era, which has reignited the interest in chess around the world. And I've watched it myself. It's a very good series and would definitely recommend it. So, a gambit in chess is typically some form of sacrifice, usually in the form of material or seemingly free material, and it is done so in order to gain a tactical or strategic advantage in terms of accelerated development or positioning. So let's take a look. The Queen's Gambit starts off with the following three moves: d4, d5, c4. So we can see here in the case of the Queen's Gambit, one of White's pawns on the Queen's side is offered to Black, with no immediate option to recapture. There are four common responses to the Queen's Gambit from Black. The first one is called the Queen's Gambit Accepted. Black replies with taking the pawn on c4. This response is okay, provided that Black doesn't fall into the trap of trying to hold on to this one pawn advantage. For example, a continuation where White plays e4, attacking the Black pawn, Black might respond with b5 and then a4, c6. Pawn takes, and then knight c3. And immediately what you can see here is that Black's dark squares look quite weak, and also Black hasn't developed any major pieces. But just to carry on a little further, Black might play queen b6, b3, e6. It's going to be quite hard for Black to hold on to that one pawn material advantage. Imagine if White's pawn takes the pawn on c4, and then Black recaptures. White can develop their bishop, and is clearly in a much better position here. So not only was Black not able to maintain their one pawn advantage, because there are 5 pawns remaining on each side, but Black is now behind in development. So I think the key thing here is that if Black responds with accepting the Queen's Gambit, then Black should focus on their own development and not try to maintain that material advantage. So here, if White captures the pawn on c4, then Black should just develop the bishop. And this is a much more balanced position now. If we roll back to the Queen's Gambit, the second response is called the Queen's Gambit Declined. Here, Black looks to support the pawn on d5 by playing e6. This is a solid move, but the main downside early on is that Black's light square bishop is blocked in, which limits the scope of that piece early on in the game. Common responses to this are just for White to develop, such as knight c3, or even g3, with the view to try and fianchetto that bishop onto g2. But the main line is knight c3. And again, it will be hard for Black to keep hold of any material advantage. For example, if Black takes on c4, then White can play queen a4 check. Black blocks with the bishop and then the queen recaptures on c4. Again, White is marginally better here, and the material advantage is still the same. The third response is what's known as the Slav defence. Here, again, Black looks to support that pawn on d5 by playing c6. Unlike in the Queen's Gambit Declined line, Black's light square bishop is free to come out. White typically plays on with knight c3, and then Black responds with e6, and then e3. Again here, lessons about development are key, because if Black takes the pawn on c4, White can recapture and develop the bishop, and is in a better position. White has developed 2 pieces, while Black has developed none. There's quite a lot of theory behind the Slav defence, and it's been studied a lot, but it can lead to some decent chances for black. And finally, the fourth response, and probably one of my personal favourites, especially for time-limited chess, is the Queen's Gambit declined Albin counter gambit, where black plays their own gambit, e5. If black plays this, they have an open position and they're not hemmed in, but it is still likely that they might lose a pawn themselves. White could play d takes e5. If this happens, black won't play d takes c4 because white could exchange the queens, and then when black recaptures, black has lost their castling rights. So quite often in this position, where white captures on e5, black might just push that pawn forward to d4. An alternative to that is for black to develop the knight to e7, defending the pawn on d5. So hopefully you've learned the basics of the Queen's Gambit opening here. Please feel free to ask me any questions, or if you'd like to see deeper insights and go further with the openings and possible continuations for the games. Please subscribe if you like this video, and you'll be able to watch even more videos as I expand the catalogue and go deeper into the analysis in the future. Thanks for watching.